Long ago, stories lived in whispers and firelight. Today, they live in this mic. Welcome to Mike and Myth. Once, in the heart of a dense and sprawling forest, there lived a group of hunters. These men were known throughout the land for their skill in tracking and killing animals. They were feared and respected, not just by other people, but by the creatures of the forest as well. The animals knew their scent, their footsteps, and the silent tension in the air whenever the hunters entered the jungle. At first, the hunters killed only what they needed: a deer for meat, a rabbit for fur. They gave thanks to the forest and took only what was necessary. But as time passed, things changed. The hunters began to grow greedy. They realized they could sell the skins, the horns, and the tusks of animals for gold. They began to hunt not for survival, but for profit. Not for food, but for fame. The biggest prize of all was the elephant. The elephants were the true kings and queens of the forest, massive, intelligent, gentle giants who roamed in herds, caring for their young, protecting one another, and living in peace. Their ivory tusks were prized in faraway cities, worth more than anything else in the jungle. The hunters began targeting them. Slowly at first, 1 or 2 elephants, taken from the edges of the herd. But then the killings increased. The forest was filled with the thunder of gunshots, the cries of dying animals, and the silence that followed. Entire herds were wiped out. The ground, once soft with grass and leaves, was stained with blood. The forest seemed to grow dimmer, quieter. Birds stopped singing. Monkeys stopped playing. The wind, once gentle, blew through the trees like a warning. But the hunters did not listen. One of the oldest elephants, a great matriarch named Mwizi, had lived in the forest for decades. She had seen the rise of storms, fires, floods, and survived them all. But nothing prepared her for the cruelty of the hunters. One by one, she watched her sisters fall, her brothers, even the calves. The sorrow in her heart was heavy. So heavy, it reached beyond the world of the living. Deep beneath the roots of the forest lived the spirit of the wild, an ancient protector that watched over all things natural and pure. It heard Mwizi's silent cries. It saw the destruction caused by the hunters, and it decided to act. Late one night, when the moon was high and the forest was cloaked in mist, the spirit of the wild awakened. That night, the hunters set up camp near a river. They laughed, bragged about their kills, and counted coins. They sharpened blades and drank deeply. But while they slept, the forest shifted. The trees twisted. The paths they knew disappeared. The sound of the river grew faint, then vanished altogether. When they woke, the world looked unfamiliar. They tried to return the way they had come, but the forest would not let them. Paths led to nowhere. Landmarks vanished. Even the sun seemed to rise and set in the wrong direction. The hunters were trapped. At first, they believed it was just bad luck. They were experienced men. They thought they could find a way out. But days passed. Then weeks. Their food ran low. Water became scarce. Their clothes tore on thorns, and their feet blistered from endless walking. The animals watched from the shadows, not with fear, but with quiet judgment. One evening, the leader of the hunters, a man named Baraka, collapsed beside a dying fire. Exhausted and defeated, he drifted into sleep. In his dreams, he found himself standing in a vast clearing filled with mist. There, before him, stood Mwizi, the great elephant matriarch, shining like silver under moonlight. She did not speak, but he felt her sorrow like a wave. He saw flashes of all the elephants they had killed. He heard the cries of calves, the thunder of stampedes, the silence of loss. Then he heard a voice, not loud, but powerful. It came from the spirit of the forest itself. You have broken the balance. You have taken without giving. If you wish to leave, you must change your hearts. Restore what you have destroyed. Baraka woke with tears in his eyes. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he stood, walked to the others, and told them what he had seen. At first, the hunters mocked him. They called it a dream, a trick of the mind. But soon, one by one, they began to remember their own dreams. Each had seen the same mist, the same sorrow, the same message. Something deep inside them began to shift. The hunters dropped their weapons. They stopped searching for gold and ivory. Instead, they began to listen to the trees, to the wind, to the silence. They built water holes where the rivers had dried. They planted trees where the ground was bare. They cleared old paths for animals to walk safely. And for the first time, they worked not as killers, but as caretakers. Seasons passed. Rain returned. The trees grew taller. The birds sang again. And one day, on the edge of the forest, a young elephant calf appeared. It stood still, watching the hunters with wide, curious eyes. Then, slowly, other elephants stepped into the clearing. They did not charge. They did not run. They simply stood, proud and silent. Baraka stepped forward and bowed his head. And the elephants turned and walked away, leaving the path open behind them. The forest had forgiven. The hunters, now changed men, returned to their village. But they did not return to their old ways. Instead, they became protectors of the land. They taught children to respect the animals, to take only what they needed, and to live in harmony with nature. They told the story of the elephants, of the spirit in the mist, and of the price of greed. And though the forest never spoke again, take only what you need, give more than you take, and always walk with respect.